Few headlines stop Hollywood in its tracks. But in late 2025, one did exactly that. Reports emerged that legendary filmmaker Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, were found deceased inside their Los Angeles home. Within hours, the story escalated from tragedy to shock when authorities announced that their son, Nick Reiner, had been arrested in connection with the case. What began as private grief instantly became a global news story, one involving legacy, family, and unthinkable loss. Now, for the first time, Rob and Michelle's other children are speaking publicly, and their words are changing how this story is being seen. But before getting to what they said, it's important to understand who Rob and Michelle Reiner were, beyond the headlines. Rob Reiner wasn't just a recognizable name. He was a defining force in American film, directing cultural touchstones like Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, and When Harry Met Sally. His work shaped generations of storytelling, balancing humor, vulnerability, and humanity in a way few directors ever achieve. Off-screen, he was known as a devoted family man, someone who spoke often about the importance of relationships over accolades. Michelle Singer Reiner shared that creative world, though often outside the spotlight. She was a photographer, producer, and longtime partner, married to Rob for decades. Together, they raised their children largely away from Hollywood spectacle. Friends often described their home life as close-knit and grounded. That's what made the news so difficult to process, because what followed shattered that image entirely. According to law enforcement summaries shared with the media, Rob and Michelle were discovered inside their home with injuries consistent with a violent encounter. Authorities have not publicly detailed all forensic findings, and investigators have emphasized that the case remains active. Reports indicate that one of their daughters contacted emergency services after making the discovery, an experience no family should ever endure. Details about the hours leading up to the incident have surfaced in fragments through various outlets. Some reports mention tension earlier that evening at a gathering, but police have not confirmed a motive or provided a complete timeline. What is clear is that, shortly after, investigators made an arrest that stunned even seasoned observers. And that arrest brought the family's private grief into the harshest public light. Nick Reiner, the couple's adult son, was taken into custody and charged in connection with the deaths. Authorities have stated that he is facing serious charges involving multiple victims. Court records confirm that he waived his right to a speedy arraignment, with the next hearing scheduled for early January 2026. His legal team has declined to comment in detail, citing the complexity of the case. During his first court appearance, cameras were permitted in the courtroom, but not allowed to show Nick directly. Observers noted that proceedings were brief and procedural, with no plea entered. Legal analysts have stressed that, as with all defendants, Nick Reiner is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in a court of law. While the legal process moves forward, another development shifted public focus, from accusation to grief. Shortly after the court appearance, Rob and Michelle's children Jake and Romy released a joint public statement. It was their first time speaking since the tragedy, and the message was unmistakably personal. They described the loss as unimaginable, saying words could not fully express the pain they were experiencing every day. They didn't focus on the case. They focused on their parents, calling Rob and Michelle not just their parents, but their best friends. They painted a picture of warmth, guidance, and unconditional love. They thanked the public for kindness and condolences, but made one request clear: compassion. They asked that speculation be tempered with humanity, and that their parents be remembered not for how their lives ended, but for how they lived. That plea resonated across Hollywood. Other family members have also shared brief messages of shock and sorrow, echoing the theme of remembrance rather than controversy. Meanwhile, tributes poured in from filmmakers, actors, and colleagues who worked with Rob Reiner over decades. Many described him as a mentor. Others remembered Michelle's quiet strength and creative eye. The response underscored something important. This story isn't just about a criminal case. It's about a family navigating grief under global scrutiny. And that scrutiny has raised difficult questions about how tragedy is consumed in the public eye, especially when legal and personal narratives collide. Public records indicate that Nick Reiner had previously spoken about personal struggles, including substance-related challenges, years earlier. Some of that history has resurfaced in coverage, but legal experts caution against drawing conclusions. Past struggles do not determine guilt, and mental health discussions are often oversimplified in high-profile cases. What happens next will unfold slowly, through hearings, evidence review, and due process. The Reiner family has made it clear they want space for that process to happen without added speculation. Their focus, at least publicly, remains on honoring Rob and Michelle's lives. And that focus reframes the entire story. As this case moves through the legal system, facts will matter. Timelines will be examined. Arguments will be tested. But the words from Jake and Romy Reiner remind the public of something deeper. Before this became a headline, it was a family. Before it became a case number, it was a lifetime of shared memories. The world may continue to watch for updates, but the family has asked that compassion lead the conversation. In moments like this, legacy isn't defined by tragedy. It's defined by how lives were lived, how love was given, and how loss is honored. And that's what many now hope won't be forgotten.